Our laws as it pertains to substances are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. Do you have trouble you can't stop and you want help stop it? I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say. And welcome to the program, everybody. Special Saturday edition. We appreciate you being here. I'll watch you guys on the restream. If you have any questions there, I'll try to catch up with them. We are also out there on the Clubhouse. But I want to start a little
Taking questions.
Taking questions.
It's Ask Dr. Drew.
Yep.
Callers today.
Yep, that's true.
So get your butt over there and also, raise your hand.
And also on the restream, I'll try to get the questions there if I can see them. They move by so fast, I can't catch. And the weird thing about restream is you can't scroll up very far. Once the page is over, you can go like a half a page up and you just can't get to it again. So, but I wanted to talk a little bit about monkeypox for a second. People seem to be preoccupied with that. I want to thank Monica Gandhi, as always, our friend of this show, who we've interviewed a couple of times. And she's an infectious disease specialist up at UC San Francisco. Monica did a nice little thread on it today. And here's one of the things that I find interesting. Susan, how many cases of monkeypox, given that it's in the headlines everywhere? Caleb, you asked about it. How many cases do you figure there are in the world, monkeypox?
It said like maybe 20 or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
close.
I watched the news. They said there's only like
there's 100. There's about 100.
100. Yeah.
There's 100. It is not a respiratory virus. The only cases in the northern hemispheres here in the northern continents in North America were with primarily people who had very close contact, including sexual contact. It is a self-limited disease. It is somewhat protected by the smallpox vaccine. It's a relative of the smallpox, the double-stranded DNA virus. And they don't know about treatment yet. Treatment does not seem to be.
So you're more likely to get attacked by a killer hornet.
Well, you're more likely to have let's think. Yeah, killer hornet, something like that. But the really stunning thing to me is that it's a nasty illness, but it's not that severe illness. It is not highly contagious. Why does the public even want to think about this? Can I teach you about tularemia and brucellosis and leptospirosis and Borrelia and other things that can get you? There's a lot of stuff that can get you. Tsutsugamushi disease. I mean, these are common. These are common infectious diseases. And why is it in the news? If this had been 5 years ago, you would not have heard it. It would have been stuff amongst myself and my peers we were talking about. But it wouldn't be in the press. Why is that happening? Help me, somebody. I don't understand this. But is it true that sexually transmitted, Sly's asking, in the Canadian, I think in UK cases, they were men having sex with men who contracted it. And we don't know if that is anything meaningful about the way this thing is spread. Probably not, my bet would be. It's just people in close contact. So I'm really, the Preakness is on right now, everybody. So I don't want to send anybody away, but you can put that on the Preakness. People are, it's part of the Triple Crown, right? Kentucky Derby, Belmont, Preakness. So I really find this, Susan, help me understand this.
Okay.
Don't you think it's weird that diseases that normally, 100 cases in the world. I could find 100 cases of odd infectious diseases
Did you
you've never
see that
heard of
picture they put
here.
up, though? It was like a little boy covered. That's what Douglas looked like when he had chickenpox. Like covered with these blisters. It just
Was that monkeypox
so
or was that
monkeypox?
Was that, or maybe that was just smallpox?
I know, but it was just like so terrifying. But it's like, then I read, there's only like 2 cases or something in the United States. And I was like, why are they doing that? They're just trying to fearmonger again.
Exactly.
And clickbait, I had to look. Couldn't help it.
Yes, there are lots of nasty illnesses out there.
You used to get those magazines when we were dating.
Yep.
Those like infectious disease magazines, and I'd open them up and I'd just like throw up on them.
Yes.
They were so bad. It was like, oh my God, I can't look. Like And you know like the name of every single one of those.
Because there are thousands and thousands of infectious diseases out there.
It's so gross. They're always like little weird looking warts and pimples.
They're worms. There's all kinds of great stuff you can get.
But it is, now we're so aware of our bodies now. Everybody's an expert on infectious disease. So, we're all very aware of the next thing that we have to learn
nobody
about.
is. That's the problem. That's why I'm disturbed by this. You're not.
Well, but we're interested.
You shouldn't be. Then get interested in tularemia. Let's go. Let's get something that is kind of interesting and exotic. And you like Tsutsugamushi. We'll get that one going.
What is it? Tsutsugamushi?
Tsutsugamushi disease. And there's all kinds of rickettsial diseases all here through the West.
So sexy when you talk
awesome.
like that. No, it's just so funny because like I've always like heard you talking about all this stuff, and of course I feel like I'm more informed than most people, but I also know better than to think that it's something we're gonna die from, because it's really hard to kill people. Really, quite frankly.
Let me quote Monica Gandhi: "Monkeypox, self-limited disease, symptoms lasting 2 to 4 weeks, less contagious than smallpox, causes less severe illness, greatly protected if you've had a smallpox vaccine." And
that's good.
Yeah, and it's
congratulations.
It's not that.
Haven't we all had one of those?
I'm
smallpox.
No, I think they kind of, once they eradicated it, they stopped doing.
I probably had one, right?
Yeah, you and I probably.
Was it one of those ones like when you're a kid and you get a vaccine and it would swell up like a monkeypox and leave a scar? Yeah, it was. That was one of them.
I think that's right.
Or was that mumps or rubella?
No, that's all nothing.
They just found a working model for getting traffic and clicks. Like if you go to twitter.com still right now and you look at the trending, it goes on the trending topics, it goes for you, trending, COVID-19, then news. It has its own tab for COVID-19, and they're just looking, what's the next thing we can do to keep our traffic going, because they made so much money anytime you said about anything about COVID for years. So it's that's the new thing.
Some
they
of our best ratings were when we talk about COVID. So,
but doesn't this strike you as strange? I mean, when I love treating and working in infectious diseases. I treated thousands of them, and never thought that that's something that would be newsworthy or people would be interested. And how can they contextualize it? Have you read an infectious disease textbook? It's about 1,000 pages. Once you can familiarize yourself with the context of infectious diseases, well, then maybe you can sort of know whether or not you should be worrying about.
we should be more worried, like when the people weren't getting their measles vaccination. We were concerned about that.
Yes,
because there were
measles
anti-vaxxers going, "I'm not giving my kids measles."
Somebody can walk. Measles is this is the difference in some of these illnesses. Measles is so highly contagious, worse than COVID. And it causes encephalitis. It can cause terrible problems. In adults, it's awful. And if somebody walks down a grocery aisle, that aisle with measles and coughs, that aisle will be infectious for 2 hours after that person has left. Think about that. Very different than COVID, where you have to get exposed to an aerosol within a few feet, typically, and actually spend some time with that person. Although it might be a little more infectious than that. We're not totally sure about that.
And there's also a fear of what's coming over the border, as somebody mentioned on Restream. Like, we know that there's people coming from foreign countries now because of Ukraine and whatnot, and they may be bringing viruses along the way. But I don't think that's really the problem. I think it's more clickbait oriented.
Andrew Ashkashvili said something very prescient. He said you should be more worried about the Black Plague. And you should. There are probably more cases of the Black Plague already in the Western United States than monkeypox. Do you want to worry about that? I've been worried about it because we have rat overpopulation in downtown areas. We have terrible rat overpopulation in downtown Los Angeles. In the Western United States, the rats here carry plague. And I think it's the fleas it's the rat fleas that get into our pets. Then it's the flea feces, I think, that actually is.
We're talking about something else.
I can't remember exactly the sequence. But rickettsial diseases are wildly common and really nasty, and they can really hurt you. And so, doctors should be worried about this. Infectious disease specialists, public health officials might want to do something about those rats. They might want to think about some of these other illnesses that are out there. And so Sly is saying plague is still around. What? Absolutely, Sly. It is around. And it was
rats are bad.
It was heading west. It was in Denver and
it
Arizona.
was also because of the homeless, right? It was going through the streets of the homeless encampments and then dragging.
Well,
we had a bunch of rats here for a while, and I was like killing them off left and right.
Yeah, and then in California, in their infinite wisdom, they outlawed the control systems, the way you can actually deal with the rats. They outlawed it. So this is great. This is really good. This is the way our state manages itself. It's fantastic. It's amazing. Ugh. Kathy wants to know if I think they'll bring the mask mandate back. I can't imagine that. That would be so wild if they did. They will?
They will. The minute we have another spike, we'll start getting annoying again.
Well, let's remind ourselves that the masks protect you and no one else.
Well,
and you have to wear an N95.
You can get medication now too when you get COVID, so that's the good news.
Paxlovid works like a son of a bitch.
Paxlovid
works like crazy. Now they're sort of limiting it to people over 65, and they're putting all kinds of limitations on it. I've seen plenty of situations where younger people have gotten it, and people have gotten it in all kinds of situations. So you can get it,
but not everybody needs it. I didn't need it.
Right. Connor, you're saying they're discussing bringing it back. That is a bizarre thing to have a mask mandate, because it should be up to you. Do you want to protect yourself or not? Wearing a mask. There was another large study that just recently came out. It shows clearly the paper masks, the surgical masks, do nothing, and you can't protect other people. In fact, I don't know if you remember, a year and a half ago, I had a environmental engineer on this show, and she was gravely concerned. She was like screaming into the wind about how her thinking was that the masks made things worse in terms of transmission, because you had to breathe out through pressure, particularly the N95 mask, which creates an aerosol, and the aerosol is the most efficient way that COVID-19 gets transmitted. It's not somebody spitting on you. It's not somebody you don't get. It's not like HIV where sexual contact and blood exposure. That's not how it's transmitted. It's transmitted in the air in aerosols and gets into our respiratory tract. That's what it's designed for. Only it's designed for that. So here we go. Craziness. What about the Paxlovid rebound? George Clark wants to know about that. That happens, and it's mostly happening in young people that get their hands on the Paxlovid, we think.
You have to take the whole
Even if you
cycle.
don't take the whole thing. A lot of people aren't taking the whole thing because the taste. It causes a nasty taste.
You have to take the whole prescription.
It causes
Don't stop halfway because it tastes bad.
Right, exactly. It causes a nasty steak.
Nurse Susan.
Yep.
I have inside information.
Okay, good. Thank you, Nurse Susan. Let me go back to Clubhouse, see how we're doing there.
We have a good doctor.
Yeah. So let's see what else.
Take some calls.
Hang on.
Let's see who's out there.
Okay.
Raise your hands, everybody.
Connor, if the mask only protects you and doesn't protect anyone else around you, should it be up to the individual? Yes, it seems to me it should be up to the individual. Doesn't it seem that way to you? I mean, if it's getting bad out there and you don't wear a mask, that doesn't seem smart. But if it's a mild thing and there's not a lot of it going around and you can't do anything for anybody else, and maybe you've been vaccinated and you have hybrid immunity and you don't want to wear a mask, I was
complaining about the crow eating our boxes.
Oh, you were?
To Amazon.
Uh-huh.
And I had a really nice conversation with a man who lives in South Africa and picks up the phone for the guy that's supposed to stop leaving the boxes on my front porch.
But he left it. He didn't do that today.
But anyways, we had a long conversation about COVID because I said I had COVID tests in the box and he ate right through the package. And I said, so they refunded him. But anyways, he said in South Africa, everybody still has to wear a mask.
Wow.
But he also doesn't want to be vaccinated because he's young and he just didn't want to get the Pfizer vaccine. And I said, good for you. Boo.
Right, exactly. We're in kind of a different phase of this thing, right? It's the endemic phase.
But they're making everybody wear masks there. There's probably a big push against it in other countries that we don't.
Green says that's nuts. And
but
that
in Pasadena, people wear masks outside.
I saw,
and they don't have to.
When I went out running today, there was a party in somebody's front yard, and there were people out there wearing surgical masks outside. That is one of the most astonishing things. I thought, what have we done to you? What are you thinking you're doing?
Let's see if anybody wants to ask.
All right, there's one hand up. Let's go to it.
Is it Josh?
Yeah. All right, Josh, what's going on?
Come on, you guys. Somebody else other than Josh.
Hey, what's happening?
Hi, Josh. We love you.
Oh, that's so great. It's good to hear that.
It's nice to have a caller once a week.
What's going on?
Yeah, I've been on a couple times, but right. I mean, I've done this a few times, but I think that over the weeks, I've seen an interesting trend, and I sort of want to put, since you're taking a break for a few weeks, I just wanted to kind of sum up a little bit of what some of our conversations have been about over the last maybe month or two, or even 3. And it seems to be an escalation, unfortunately, of aggression, of sort of just uncontained acting out, maybe emotionality that's not contained. I'm not a psychologist, so you're going to be better at describing this, if you agree with me, that is.
Well, I think that's been going on for a while, and I do agree with you. I think acting out behaviors of all sorts have been alive and well lately, and projection and aggression and projective identification and passive aggression is just all there. And I don't know what, it just doesn't seem like a very healthy way to manage all this. I do feel as though Amber Heard has done us a favor, or at least Johnny Depp did us a favor by bringing Amber Heard into the public discourse. Not because, I don't know who was right or wrong in that situation. They both were, as my old psychiatry friend used to say, nutty as a peach orchard squirrel. They both had very serious issues. Johnny, severe addiction to alcoholism. I'm sure he was a scary guy. Amber, severe borderline and histrionic. But it's really important for people to see how people distort and lie and act out and don't perceive things. I mean, this was sort of a masterclass in all that. They both had entirely different experiences of what happened, and this is what happens when people aren't well. They distort, they lie, they don't remember, and they can think all kinds of things and then have all sorts of problematic behaviors associated with it. And I think that is the more, to your point, Josh, that is some of the more severe stuff that's been going on. I mean, there are examples of more severe stuff, but I think a lot of that same stuff has been, I think I mentioned on this show the other day, someone was, I wish I could remember who this was. It was like an epidemiologist, and was a political epidemiologist. And she said, I'm beginning to think that the political extremes are not built along a political axis, meaning they're instead built on a psychological axis or psychiatric axis. And I thought, yes, extremes. I know you're, Josh, very enthralled with Freud. That was his whole point about neurosis, that it was just extremes.
Let me just say something about Freud. Freud wanted us, with the aggression, to go back to libido. So what is libido? One word is love. One word is eroticism. So the idea is there's aggression, but at the same time, there's a libidinal eroticism, love, horniness. I don't know what you want to call it, but we need to kind of, go ahead.
I'd really urge you to pull back from thinking libido as sexual. What he was talking about libido as, especially in his later writings, the life force. It's just a force of vitality and living that included a sexual impulse, but wasn't exclusively tied up in sexuality per se. His whole theory was a drive theory. So what are the drives? Hunger, right? So we had an oral phase, evacuation of your bladder and bowel, connection to other people. He left that one out. And so later psychoanalysts brought in relational drives, object relations, and then sex. And sex is tied up in this vital urge, and it becomes and love is in there with it for sure, but it becomes sexual only later in life. But the sexual part is just a piece of it. I wouldn't.
Right. So, connection, it's sublimation basically of the drive. So the word sublimation is a psychoanalytic term, which means it's there in essence. Like when ice sublimates, ice turns right into air without going through the liquid phase, right? So in psychoanalysis, we talk about sublimating eroticism so you have an appreciation of music, maybe, or you want to see art, or you want to do all of these things. And that's still the libido. It's just transformed differently. And I also want to say there's a fear to do that, Drew. There's a fear that maybe we'll have trauma. Someone will hurt us. We have a remembering of past trauma. So we're traumatized. We're all traumatized. And we want to seek this out, but we're scared to do that. So we're aggressive. So we make aggression the primary focus.
I hear what you're saying. I'm not. You have to kind of to say that's what is happening. You have to have evidence, and I could believe that somebody might do that, but I would have trouble saying it's a universal or common trend. But I appreciate it, Josh. Keep reading the stuff. Keep thinking about it. I got to take some more calls here. This is Charles. Let's get Charles up to the. There you are. Charles, want to come on up? Let's see if we can get him in there. Oh, there you are. Yeah, you're still on mute, Charles. Your mic.
Okay. Hello.
Hey.
Well, what do you think about the possible role of infrared radiation, exposure to infrared radiation, as being an important part of optimizing one's health, specifically its possible role in producing intracellular melatonin?
Yeah, I have friends that, I don't know if you're talking about infrared exposure through the skin or infrared through the eye. I mean, obviously a lot of the melatonin system is related to light and the eyes, right?
Through the skin, through the skin. The infrared penetrates through clothing, clothing. So it's not necessary if you go outside.
There's a whole, look, you're not going to use it to treat cancer and COVID, right? You're just not going to do it. Or monkeypox, not going to do anything. But whether it could help improve health, I have friends that do feel that might do that it might improve, amongst other things, the oxygenation. It sort of can change there's theories about how the red cells are getting through the capillaries and things, and maybe it has something good to do with that. I think there might be something there. Again, we're not talking about treating illness with that. We're talking about optimizing health, and the question is whether you could improve oxygen delivery and thereby reduce medical problems down the line. I think that's all possible. I think that, so I would watch that material, and I think it's interesting. I think somebody's onto something there, and why not? Why not keep looking at it? Casey, what's happening? What is going on? Oh, you're muted too. Casey, you're muted. You can do it. You're muted. Got to turn off the mute. Yeah. Let's see. Casey says people think. I'm gonna read some stuff off Restream. Okay. People think
Casey, unmute yourself.
People think they are evolved and have choices, but in reality are ruled by their animal instincts as the primates and the monkeys they are. JC, yeah, pretty much. pretty much. And we have a lot of other little systems operating, we have this big cortex on top that changes things a bit, but the drive part, certainly, and people don't think a lot about that anymore, but it's an important thing. Casey, what's going on?
Can you hear me now, citizen?
We do.
Dr. Drew, prolific caller, first-time listener, calling from lovely, lovely Santa Barbara, California.
Nice.
I would actually like to read off a question from one of our citizens over at the Rational Revolution server, if you don't mind.
All right. Fantastic.
So Mew911 asks, Dr. Drew, my psychiatrist once again told me you can never treat or improve your social behavior caused by your autism. And if your depression comes from having social issues, then there is no treatment that'll work. You'll just have to accept your own limitations and be who you are. Would you agree with this statement? Is there hope for someone like me?
No, of course. Of course there's hope. But I'm not sure she took away from the statement exactly what the psychiatrist was intending. What I think he was saying, or she was saying, was that neurotypicality, it should not be the goal. In other words, you have certain neuroatypical phenomenon because of your genetics and your brain structure that makes it difficult for you to see some of the nuances in social engagement. Your goal should be rather to work with that than to change that. I think that's really what this person was saying. And you have to accept that you have this phenomenon, and but you have to kind of work with it. I mean, I think of the work. What was the name of that very famous autistic? And then was she a psychiatrist? Famous autistic people here, besides Elon Musk.
Now, Elon has Asperger's, correct, Drew?
Well, which is now just called mild autism. Temple Grandin. Yeah, Temple Grandin wrote a lot about this, and I would sort of refer you over to her stuff. If there's depression because of, if you're they're having trouble getting people to accept you, or there's something about your social perception issues that are making it, you notice people are having trouble being around you, there are definitely therapeutics for that. So I don't understand why the psychiatrist wouldn't say, maybe get a therapist or somebody who specializes in this kind of thing to help you manage how you are, so you can accept how you are and work from where you are rather than try to change how you are. I think that's more where the Freudian professional was at. Oh, apparently David Byrne had autism. That's interesting. I didn't know that from Talking Heads.
Outstanding.
Is that it, Casey?
I think that's going to do it, Citizen
Right.
Drew. I appreciate you taking my call.
You bet. Thank you, Citizen. Aaron, what's up there? Aaron, what's happening? You're muted and everything. Everybody, I think the system must automatically mute you.
Yeah, they probably do that. So usually when people go on Clubhouse, they all come up in a group and they stay muted until they're called on, so that it's probably an automatic thing on.
Mm-hmm. It seems to be. Everyone enters except Josh.
So it take a second. They just have to demute, and they're okay. There we go. Hopefully, demute yourself, Aaron. You're here.
Yeah,
We can sue.
I'm gonna.
You can let somebody else up.
That's what I'm gonna do.
At the same time, and he'll come back.
I'm not quite sure what the name is here. King Pert. Ryan, what's going on? You also are muted.
Okay, demute.
Demute.
There may be a little
Unmute.
lag. I don't know. Who knows?
Hey, Dr. Drew.
There you are. What's happening?
Hey, I'm not doing too bad. How are you?
Cool. Excellent. Thank you.
So I have a question about the current conflict in Ukraine regarding the volunteers.
The volunteers, meaning the mercenaries?
You could say that, I guess.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
What is it about times of war, conflict, that draws young men in? Like, war is scary, it's terrifying, and we know the outcome. What is it that keeps drawing young men in?
Well, most of the people that I have seen interviewed that were going over there and volunteering or were mercenary were people trained as soldiers. I mean, that's their identity. It's like asking me why I go see patients. Because that's what I do. That's just, and when soldiers feel like they can contribute, oftentimes they'll go. If again, it's somebody who's, by the same token, people have had enough of that and get out of it, and
Or not mentally ill.
What do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like some people could be just mentally ill and they just want
Not the ones I saw interviewed. I'm no expert in this area, but they all just talked about, this is what I'm trained for, and I can really do some good here, and so I'm going over there to help.
They're mercenaries by trade, right? That's just what they like to do.
You could say that, yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely can relate that if that was what I was sort of trained for, and there was something that even though it was, part of being a soldier is understanding that, laying down your life is part of your deal.
I've seen interviews with commanders and stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we came out and this was a mess, but we helped with this," and they seem like they know what they're doing. But some of them get captured too, which is really sad.
Look, it's not cool. It's not great if you get captured or if you get wounded. but I understand that professional drive. I think to answer your question kind of specifically, it gets into your identity. Once you're oftentimes your professional training and skill set and career becomes such a part of your identity that not deploying it and using it to its best potential is like not living, right? And so I kind of understand that. So it kind of makes sense to me that people do it. I remember I used to sort of think, what are they doing? Let me try Aaron again. Thanks for that, Ryan. Thanks for that question. Aaron, see if we can get you up there without the microphone on, with your microphone on, that is. Let's see what else is going on. I'm low energy today, Casey says. I've been training a lot, and I trained for like 4 hours this morning. So Aaron, go unmute yourself if you can. Somebody said it's in the lower right-hand corner.
He's been training. He's getting in shape. He doesn't have diverticulitis.
Me, I know, it's amazing. And I'm going on a long journey that I will be able to tell you about one day. And hopefully it won't be a humiliating journey, but it will be it
might be.
Well, Susan, let's talk about that. Because it has given me a focus and a purpose that.
Yeah, it's fun.
But COVID made me drift, I think. And this whole thing, this project, even if I fail or humiliate myself, let's say, I still feel like it will have given me focus and purpose long enough to have made it worthwhile.
I think I see that in you.
And then,
there's been a change.
And that the worst thing would be I get to come back and see you sooner, which is
thank you,
which
honey.
would be a good thing.
I will miss
This is going to be the first. I don't think we've been away like that. I mean, Celebrity Rehab used to
10 days for COVID.
10 days for COVID took me away. And then Celebrity Rehab used to take. Remember how I would just I would be in another world.
But you still slept with me.
Yeah.
It'll be weird, but
it'll be weird. But I feel like it could.
I'm
be
getting
good.
a root canal just to make to fill the time.
Stanley wants to know if I have any lingering effects from COVID. I still have ringing in my right ear, and because I've been training very, very vigorously, that it gets worse when I'm like overheated and been working out less. So the ringing really gets going. And then Diane, just below that, Caleb is asking, "What's the journey?" I can't tell you. I am.
How come we can't get anybody to work the clubhouse?
You mean to work their microphone? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Aaron is still. Not...
I mean, you should be able to hear us talking right now. So unmute your lower left corner. Unmute your mic.
See, his mic is off when. Well, I'll invite him to speak and see if we can get him up here. Casey's back. I'll get Casey up here in a second too. Right, Casey.
Announcer Casey.
Yeah, Casey, you wanted to follow up?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You're muted again, as everyone is. There you are.
Sorry about that. Okay, as soon as you accept the invite, when you come up from having your hand up, you got to look in the lower right-hand corner of the app, and you'll see the microphone. It's always muted when you come up.
There you go.
Yeah, it's some kind of a clubhouse.
But I don't recognize you, Casey. You have this voice is unfamiliar to me. I mean, it's like what?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I got a couple friends here. I had a friend of mine actually had to grab the phone, and I guess he asked a question or something like.
Yes, indeed.
Discord servers.
I thought that was Casey.
So you were gone.
Oh no,
you were gone in Austin a couple nights, and I got bored, and I went on Instagram and I looked up your mom's house post of the video of when I was on the show.
Yeah.
And
you're not going to talk about these assholes, are you?
No. And I was like, oh, I haven't seen any bad comments. Somebody said that I look like a trans. They said I look like Bruce Jenner.
That person is.
And I said, I hope you mean Caitlyn. Actually, I told him, I said, I take that as a compliment, and hopefully I can take a joke. It's fine. But that's the worst thing.
You're a very brave person. Susan.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was low. Stop it.
See, so when you go away, I'm going to be like scrolling through bad comments on the
Don't
internet.
Don't recommend it. All right,
Just
Casey.
ask Garth.
Thanks. All right, talk soon.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, bye. All right, so let me go back up.
God, I
to,
get somebody.
Sam, very funny. Are you talking to Susan or me, Sam? Because maybe my big time off is I'm going to transition. Maybe that's the big journey is I'm going on. But I think he's talking to you. Please don't transition.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I just have a low voice. It's probably it puts people off or something.
What makes an individual have long-term effects as opposed to somebody who doesn't from COVID? Matt, we have no idea. We haven't even defined really fully what long COVID is. Not to everyone's satisfaction anyway. If you have questions about long COVID, we've interviewed, what is Bruce's last name? I'm blanking on it. Anyway, go to covidlonghaulers.com. Our friends are there.
Dr. Bruce?
No. Bruce from COVID Long Haulers. Your virologist.
Yeah, Dr. Yo and Bruce Patterson.
Dr. Bruce Patterson, thank you. And then Dr. Yo's over there too.
Casey got to it first.
Yep. Mary says, I like being a woman. Well, that's good. I have noticed, as far as gender stuff, I think I'm seeing people celebrate their endogenous gender more, for lack of another way of saying that. Like people are, I'm seeing people be more male and more female that don't just identify as such. They were born as such, and they're sort of celebrating it a bit. Susan, do you think I'm seeing that right? Even this journey I'm doing is a little bit attached to that. I think men have to be careful.
No, I get it.
Yeah. I think men have to be careful. The toxic masculinity is.
I like that joke. I keep thinking about Gutfellow. Gutfellow was really funny last night, and then they were saying how this guy like killed somebody, and then he identified as a woman and got to go into a women's jail.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? How do you do that? Like, that's how screwed up our laws are. It's like, okay, you're going to put a killer in with a bunch of women, and then they're impregnating him. It's just like, it's in the news. So funny. I don't know. It's just strange, Drew. I'm not none of us are doing that. So.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I don't know. I'm not an expert at this. Ask my daughter. She's good at this stuff.
Okay, I'm looking around.
Identifying.
States Houston is the most moved city in the U.S. I'm not surprised, although Austin is way up there. We're there a lot these days. And all of our friends that are there love it.
Were people wearing masks in Austin this week?
Interesting question. I don't think I saw one.
You didn't? Okay.
No, I don't think I saw a mask. Oh, I saw a mask in an Uber, but he didn't ask me to mask, which I thought was quite reasonable.
Yeah.
I think if you're driving an Uber and you're being exposed to lots of people in a closed environment, you want to wear an N95. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. So I thought, all right, good, he's doing that, and good on him for not asking me to do anything because it wouldn't help. That's the real lesson in what we're learning so far. Nancy would be good. Mock disaster. I don't know which Nancy. There was a big political transition today in Australia. Anybody have any opinion about that? I was watching Jay Bhattacharya, I think, was talking about this on his Twitter feed, and he was saying that yes, people wear them in Austin, according to Hypnotized Ninja. Not the way they do here, Ninja. But Jay Bhattacharya was saying that he thought that really the reason a new government was assigned was that they'd completely lost patience and faith in the previous government because of the lockdowns. Strictly, that's it. They were just out because of the lockdown. So I'm not surprised. Do KN95 masks help protect others, however? George Clark, they do not. They do not. Again, the theory is that they may increase aerosols, which improves the efficiency of transmission of COVID-19. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but there's some concern about that. And the data shows that wearing a mask does not protect other people. I mean, think about what happens when I go into a room with all those infectious diseases I was talking about earlier. Let's say it's a respiratory, airborne illness. Let's say it's measles. I don't mask the patient. I mask myself, right? Because that gives the protection. And suddenly we went to everybody got to wear a mask, or the mask was the only thing. Did you see Patty Lupone? I brought that up the other day here, screaming at people that, that somehow that you were not concerned with protecting other people. Like, no. Still masking in Ontario, apparently. Okay. Hi, mommy. Huge. Then we got, not quite sure what you're saying. Kids outside on their own obviously should not be masked. That's ridiculous. That is so ridiculous. Did the pandemic reveal a potential attack vector or vulnerability within the U.S.? I don't know. Secondly, what probability would you ascribe to monkeypox being edited and weaponized? If they had weaponized monkeypox, they did a terrible job. It's not infectious. It's hard to transmit. There are only 100 cases worldwide. We've got to get off this. My goodness. Roman Empire. Let's see. Yeah, Eric, I did read something like that too. I don't want to make much of it because I don't really like all the associations that people try to make between the fall of the Roman Empire and our present situation. I feel like you could bring the Roman Empire up in any society at any time and say, see, we're losing it.
I feel like somebody wants to raise their hand.
Okay, they did. I'll get to them. Here we go.
You can also put them in the room and then tell them to, just when they raise their hand. And then.
This is Monia.
But you can't unmute them, right?
And we'll get an Arizona wife back. Monia, you got to go to the lower right-hand corner and unmute your mic.
Yay, there it is.
There we go. Hey, how are you?
Bada bing, bada boom.
Good. How are you guys?
Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Excellent.
I've been listening to old Loveline episodes, actually, and there was one episode where you, Dr. Drew, said that you had noticed that it was really difficult for women to be comfortable in themselves as they age because of the way society at large reacts.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was something that I would love to ask you about. And since Susan is there also and might have
tell me about it. When you're called a trans, let me tell you.
Yeah,
no, that's why I was like, you know what, this might be topical.
Yeah, it
my daughter said I have kind of that Orange County hair,
it bothered me because here's the reality. I had seen women struggling with the aging process. That's what I was commenting about, I'm sure, back then. And I think men were really, I don't know this, but I'm worried that men were really contributing to that.
Yeah, but that was like in the 80s, right? Or 90s?
Yeah, 80s and 90s, maybe.
90s.
Probably maybe a little later in the 90s. But personally, I find my peers very attractive. Very. Now, I don't know if that's because women have learned how to do this, we all sort of look and feel young later or whatever. But I worry that men really did that to women. There was such a preoccupation with being young, or there was also that period of history where, the 60s and 70s, youth was paramount. I mean, that was all that mattered, was what young people thought. We're kind of gone back into that a little bit again now. But it was a weird time. And I think people suffered as a result. Now, I also saw somebody attacking Paulina Poroskova. Did you see this, Susan?
Oh yeah.
Did you see what they were attacking?
Because she looked old.
Yeah, they said, "Oh, well, she looked old. She looked great."
She looks really good.
She looked like an attractive person.
But she didn't. She wasn't trying to glam up.
No, I know. But he said, the quote was something like, "Oh, it must be terrible having been a beautiful person and losing that now."
I have had some people say that.
To you?
Yeah, I think she was on an app too, right? On the apps, it's really, really bad.
I just see her celebrating looking good. Somebody
there was
her age.
a controversy about it.
But Susan, what did you say? Somebody attacked you that
Remember
way?
when I met Bean for the first time at K-Rock? He goes, you were probably hot once. And this was after I had given birth to 3 kids and I was
speaking of Asperger's.
But that was also in the 90s when you're talking about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I put a lot of effort into how I look and I don't just let it go. I try very hard to keep my youth going, but
but you're not trying to look young.
It doesn't insult me because I stopped doing Botox in my forehead because I have deep, wrinkles in my forehead. But if I do Botox, one of my eyebrows goes left and I look like a scared clown when I let me smile. I don't like it. So, but every time a doctor sees me and goes, "You want some Botox?" I'm like, "No, I'm 60. I'm allowed to have wrinkles on my forehead." Yeah. That's just the way it goes.
Right.
And I think women have to embrace the things that are don't sweat the small stuff. But
do men contribute to how you feel about it? I mean, do you need to hear from more men your own age going, I think.
Listen, I don't have any problem with men my own age. They all want to do it with me,
Right.
but they don't care. But also you have to own it a little bit. And I think just embrace your growing old gracefully, and not feel like I use a filter when I do Instagram on my phone. It's all built in. I don't have to go in and erase every line. I don't identify every wrinkle on my face when I take a picture. And you know how people like go, here, I'll fix it for you. And then your face is all lopsided and shit.
Bad Photoshop.
I know. But there's like an app called Airbrush. Everybody should get it. It does it all naturally and your face comes out the right shape. It just sort of smooths things over and you don't have to look so close at yourself every day, except for when you look in the mirror. So, I try to stay away from identifying every little thing.
Let's hear what Monia was thinking. Monia, what are you thinking about this? What made you?
Oh, well, my birthday is on Monday, so it's very topical for me right now. But yeah, I think it's just something I've thought about because I follow an actress who's doing a campaign to have more older women on the screen. And she's had such a difficult time gaining traction that I started noticing it more. And I started thinking about how seldom I would see. I mean, there's tons of amazing content right now, but I remember growing up and never really seeing someone older than whatever doing something I wanted to do. And
or admitting their age either.
I think the time has come. I'm totally with you on this.
Drew, you okay.
What?
Men get hotter when they get older. Like, look at you. You were kind of nerdy when I met you, but you still have all your hair.
Kind of.
And you have nice teeth. And your skin looks good, but you also look handsome like an older gentleman looks and you're still in really good shape.
You look, and you know how I feel about you, so
thank
you. What's the point?
No, I get it, but I work really hard, but I
do too.
I also know that I'm ready to go. Like, when I'm 70, I'm going to be 70. It's going to be different, and you can do a little neck lift here and a little filler here or whatever. But you have to know that you're 70. You have to remember what age you are.
There is, though.
But when I was 50, I was working it. And I didn't like being 50. I don't know how old you are, but 40 and 50 is kind of a rude awakening for women because you put on weight, you go through menopause, your body looks different, you feel crappy, and then you have to go get your hair done and figure out new looks and go to the gym every day, and just a lot of work. Men seem to have it a lot easier. I don't know why.
But that's the beauty part. Always easy for men, but it's good for us. It improves your health to be doing all that, right?
Yeah, but I didn't I had my teeth done. I got veneers. My dentist talked me into it. He was tired of looking at us. We'd go out to dinner. He goes, I got to do your teeth. I said, I got this far without it. Why do I have to do it? I would have been fine with mouth, whatever. But honestly, it was so nice when he did it. I felt great. But I didn't take it as a as a negative that he wanted me to do my teeth. I just I did it, and I felt 10 years younger. It was great.
I just want to say women do have a bona fide, a real biological aging phenomenon that men do not have to contend with, and that is reproduction. And unfortunately, people want to pretend that's not the case. And we've certainly done a good job sort of pushing it back as far as we can, or getting people to control their own reproductive destiny by, harvesting eggs or embryos, that kind of thing. But that is a real thing. That is just a real thing. And anything else, I think it's time for women to be appreciated for whatever age they are. It kind of drives me a little crazy. So
I also think my personality is better because of the hormone replacement. So I'm not as focused on the not looking, being insulted if somebody says I look like Bruce Jenner. It's
not
fine.
Bruce.
No,
not
they
Bruce.
Said Bruce. I know what they meant though. But it's fine.
So, Money, why are you listening to all those old Loveline tapes?
I need something to do. I need something to listen to.
Were you around when we actually did it?
Oh, I was in Europe at the time.
What?
So
were you doing?
No, yeah, I was living there.
Doing where?
But I was living in Sweden.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. And And I think I found Loveline online then, and I would listen to it when I was working. I had a brief job at a warehouse. So it was all just like, picking stuff up and packing stuff in. So I was just like listening
How
to
interesting.
episodes back then. Yeah.
Well, thanks for saying hi and appreciate the question.
Thanks
Anything
for the
else?
question.
Yeah, thanks for the show.
You bet. You bet.
Chat. There's a super chat.
Yeah, I'm going to answer it. Sly.
That's a good one.
Well, it's Sly. Well, first, Minor Zircon said, men don't have it easy. We just don't care.
Maybe that's just testosterone.
It's kind of a great comment. But Sly was saying he'd been switched from Zoloft to Wellbutrin, and now he has higher sex drive, which certainly happens just getting off the Zoloft.
He lost weight and he's smoking less.
And Zircon also said,
that's good.
Don't listen to Bean because he's insane. Bean is not insane. He's very, very bright.
He had Asperger's. I didn't know that at the time.
But
we're friends now.
Let me finish with Sly. So you get off Zoloft, your sex drive always goes up. Zoloft shuts you down. Wellbutrin sometimes increases it. And you said you don't want to smoke. Well, that's
says ridiculously horny. That's a good sign.
We used to use Wellbutrin for a smoking cessation. And one of the side effects is reduced appetite.
Wow.
So he's lost, and the Zoloft can increase your appetite sometimes. So it may, a lot of that may just be being off the Zoloft.
I just lost my hair. See, is that a guy?
Yeah.
It worked for guys, not for me. It made me, but it helped me not want to kill my husband. So
how dare you?
I was so anxious.
Wow.
It was hormonal.
I'm trying to
too many kids.
Trying to catch up with your guys' comments around the research. Let's go back to the callers.
I didn't mean to personalize that.
That's all right. Arizona wife. Welcome back. See if you can get up here. Turn off that. You got to get your mic on, lower right-hand corner. Automatically, you're on mute. There you are.
There we go.
Hey, how are you?
Was getting better. Now I'm not sure.
What's happening?
Well, I'm been very, very angry the past 2.5 years. But then I moved to the free state, so I feel a little better.
You're in Arizona now.
Yep, loving it. Much better than California. Sorry, I lived there all my life, but it was just getting to be a little too intrusive, to say. But to me, things since the beginning of the pandemic just didn't make sense. I worked as a paramedic. We did a lot of infection control then. And then after that, I worked in group homes with developmentally disabled adults and level care. So a lot of infectious disease control training there.
Yep. That's what, listen, that's what I was saying just today. I don't know if when you got on the stream, but I was saying, why or is anybody thinking about monkeypox? There are 100 cases in the world, and it is I said, let's get going on you guys have coccidioidomycosis down there. Let's freak out about fungal infections in the lung. Coccidioidomycosis. There are 40 cases in Phoenix this summer. Yeah, every summer.
How about yellow toenails?
Oh yeah, people like onychomycosis or onychogryphosis.
Yeah, that a lot of people have, and they should be freaking out because that's disgusting.
What is wrong with us?
I'm more worried about valley fever.
You were valley fever is cocci, same thing. Yeah, because nasty. But, it's nasty.
Yeah, I was wondering because so far my primary care can't give me an explanation. I've called the local health department, can't get an answer from them.
What is the question exactly?
Why in the past 6 months did the CDC decide to change the definition of a vaccine?
I always, I don't know. I've never looked on the site and seen what their where they have definition. But in my world, a vaccine was always any exposure to really anything. We would talk about vaccinating people mental health problems by exposing them to stress and things. So anything that exposed you to something that strengthened your system in such a way that you could fight it off. That's it. That was vaccination to me.
Well, the CDC, as far as, because it was, of course, under childhood immunizations,
Mm-hmm.
and it specified that it was a synthetic substance that was given usually by injection to boost the body's immune system
Okay.
to prevent infection of the disease that it was designed for. And then you went to, what does immunity mean?
Yeah.
And that was, immunity is, with vaccinations, are a way to protect you from infection.
Yes. Did
it's
they
just
have they is that still up that way, or have they changed it?
No, they changed it
Yeah.
about 6 months ago.
I
Is something that just lessens symptoms, severity of symptoms, and helps prevent hospitalization and death. Which,
Yeah.
like I said, that was only 6 months ago they did that.
we in medicine, it's a fair game to change definitions. Just is. We change it all the time. And they obviously felt it was necessary to broaden it out a little bit to make it clearer that when we were talking about immune function, it wasn't just to prevent illness, it was to prevent severe illness. And I don't, in my world, obviously we were always aiming towards preventing illness, but it included reducing risk.
I've never heard of anyone with getting measles. I've heard of the outbreaks that were at Disneyland and such, but those were started by foreign travelers.
You're very much less likely to get it if you've been vaccinated. But I don't know of any vaccine that is zero transmission. What I think is kind of maybe the change that you're tilting at is not that so much as, trying to reduce the effect of a disease. And I mean, that's what the original cowpox, for smallpox, that was the original vaccine construct. It didn't prevent the illness. It did not. It made smallpox less severe. And that was where vaccine therapy was invented, was in making illness less severe. So it's not as though there aren't historical antecedents for this.
But we have never had to worry about, when was the last time you've heard of, somebody getting mumps? You just
who had been vaccinated.
Protected.
Yeah, we have better vaccines than we have for COVID. Listen, we didn't know that, but 3 years ago, I probably would have been arguing that it was impossible to create a vaccine against a respiratory virus. Right? It's a whole different thing. It's a whole different deal. It's like these are really these coronaviruses. It's never really happened, so it's a different thing. But hey,
it just doesn't make sense why they couldn't admit in the beginning that we don't know this. They let everybody.
Now I'm with you. Now I'm totally with you.
Trust is blown.
Yes, ma'am. The lack of transparency, the lack of looking back, the lack of self-evaluation, all that. That's what's problematic. That's where I feel like we are way off the rail. Just follow on Twitter. Follow Vinay Prasad. Follow Monica Gandhi. Follow.
Oh, I do, Vinay.
Good.
Yeah, I do follow
and
him.
You'll feel better. These are really smart people, extremely well-trained physicians who understand science. And these are guys that we should be leaning on. And a lot of them, Jay Bhattacharya is asking for a sort of a national morbidity and mortality report. We all get together and find out, where did we screw up? What did we do wrong? How do we not do that next time? And I agree with him wholeheartedly. Thanks, Janice. I got to get to a couple more questions here. This is BB, perhaps.
Rex is like pacing around and
yeah, I think it's all the stuff going on downstairs.
Sneezing and scraping the floor.
Yeah, he gets wonky. BB.
Well, it's 4:00. He always likes to be done.
BB. Again, you're muted. The unmute is in the lower right-hand corner. Oh, there
Dr.
you are.
Drew.
There you are.
Oh,
Look at
I
you.
am your number one fan, and
Oh.
I get so excited when I get a chance to talk to you.
That's right. This is
I'm
my
the one I
number,
always think,
my number one
yeah,
fan.
I just
That's
don't
right.
want to hyperventilate. I'm
That's
so
right.
excited.
Susan, Susan, you met my number one fan, BB?
I mean, and
nice to meet you.
and Susan, yes, your fan too.
Good.
I have three. I listen to all of your podcasts.
Okay.
You also turned me on to Dr. Gandhi, Dr. Prasad, Dr. Bhattacharya. So I listen to all of them.
Okay.
I also listen religiously to every Adam and Dr. Drew show.
Okay.
I have three different questions. If I can get them in, great. The first one is, it's a COVID question.
Okay.
And my question is, what's going to happen in the fall when these kids start returning to school?
Yeah.
I have, in my particular case, my husband and I were vaccinated because it was the right decision for
you.
he and I to do with.
Good.
But our daughter is a healthy, strapping, good athlete, no BMI issues. We chose not to vaccinate her because I just wasn't. In fact, Dr. Bhattacharya actually was kind enough to field a question for me.
Oh, nice.
She had a mild case of the Omicron in December.
Good.
So she is going to be starting college in the fall. And they're already asking her for her vaccination status.
Oh, boy.
I just listened to the podcast with Dr. Gandhi, Monica Gandhi, and Dr. Prasad. She loves the Novavax.
Yes,
If I could get that,
yes, I think me too. If they start pushing me to get because I'm so immune, it's ridiculous. I have I've had COVID twice. I've been vaccinated. I measure my antibodies. Then I use non-commercial screens. I really see what's going on, and I'm way, way, way immune. But if somebody forces me to get the a booster, I want Novavax. I'm with her on that. That's what I want.
I mean, if that is not available, do you still? Now, I'm kind of out of my league here. The way I understood the podcast is the Pfizer's vaccines are like protein spike specific. So I don't want to give her last year's vaccine if she has to go to school in the fall.
Well,
so I just hope you guys keep advocating. I love Dr. Marty McCary. Please advocate for the kids and he is hysterical when he talks about what happens to the college kids. So as the
Z-Dog too. Z-Dog is another one, that really good source of sane info. Well, I would say the Novavax, my understanding, it was just approved. So by fall, it should be available. So that's good news. So let's assume that's
but how far before they go to school should they get the vaccine? Because it wears off in 6 months, right?
Look, let's be fair. We're doing this to meet the
requirements,
the bureaucratic requirements. That's why we're doing.
I mean, they'll get if they get COVID, they'll get a lesser.
Hang on, I don't want anybody to misquote me. My 75-year-old patients all are double and triple vaxxed. Trust me, there's situations where I'm vax happy,
but
and I've been vaccinated.
It's not going to keep them from getting COVID. It just won't be as bad, and then they get through the requirements, and they,
Correct.
And already the college is asking us, what's your vaccination status?
Yeah.
And I just keep hoping, it's
BB,
only...
You actually made my day hearing that Monica is so enthusiastic about Novavax. Because I've been enthusiastic about it from the beginning.
When did your daughter got COVID? You said in October?
No, she had a mild case around the holidays and Christmas, and she recovered, and all is good. But I just know
so she's
this
good.
fall.
Let me just say, I'm gonna.
So maybe July, get it so that it's.
Oh no, she want to get it towards the fall
or August.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't you have to do it? Don't they have to get it within 4 weeks of school or something?
That's what we're tiptoeing through the raindrops,
so you have
and
to
I keep deferring.
Hopefully it'll be out within the month. That'd be my prediction. Well, I've been predicting that for a long time, but
that could change by August.
Thank you, Minor.
The rules could change.
Shout out to Giovanni for cataloging and saving all the Loveline shows and putting them up on the classic Loveline.
Yeah, he's got all of them. I found a bunch of them in the garage. He was so excited. He's like, send them to me. And he goes, oh my God, I have the originals. Oh my God.
So funny.
Can I just squeeze in two other thoughts?
Yes, real go.
One, I listened to you talk about NAD infusions and what it did for Joe Rogan. And when you were just talking about aging, you talk about a supplement. That was my second question.
I take True Niagen. It's a nicotinamide riboside. And I was talking to a peer of mine, actually the guy that did my physical for this adventure I'm about to leave on. And he does NAD infusions, and he was singing the praises. And I said, "Yeah, I know." And I take nicotinamide riboside.
They were a sponsor for a while.
And he said, "But does that get in adequately?" It's not like no. I said, "No, it's not like the infusions. I wish I could get it in as what the infusions do, but I think it's good. I think it's a very useful thing in terms of some of the oxidative stress associated with aging. It reduces that. I'm convinced of it.
So I have no medical problems. I take no meds. Like I'm reasonably healthy. But again, just to stay on top of that aging curve.
True Niagen.
Something?
I think there's something going on there. I take it myself. That's all I can tell you. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'll tell you I take it. So
awesome. Last question. I listened to your podcast on December the 6th with the Dr. Antonio Damasio. Yes. And he talked about how brains process decisions and emotions. And very interesting, but it was way above my head. But the one thing that he talked about, which was fascinating when we talk about mental health and in the future, if there's a difference in that podcast, he mentioned there's a difference between feeling and emotions.
Yes.
And I think in today's society, I feel this way. And it's just such an impulse.
Yes.
And sometimes when you talk, you're very interesting. You talk about post-traumatic stress syndrome and recovery. If you could kind of delve into the difference between a feeling and an emotion.
So only in the last, I think 3 months has science finally decided that we know now how to define feeling and emotion. It has been a source of controversy. It's no wonder the public is confused about it. The scientific community had real serious trouble coming up with a firm agreement about what we're talking about. Fundamentally, feelings are phenomenon. I'm probably going to misspeak on this. So look at Ginger. What's Ginger's brain science pod called? Susan, we just were with her at the podcast awards.
I know, the older woman.
Yes, Ginger. I just talked to her the other day. But Kayla, if you could put it up here, she's got a great podcast called Brain Science. If you're interested in it, if you're interested in this stuff, she
wanted to be on the show. I forgot about that.
I had her back on the podcast.
Oh,
but she can come up here. She'd come up here. She will. We'll have her up here any time. She's very good. And she and I did a whole death and dying podcast. Because remember, she said she wanted to. She's now in palliative care, and so I said we're going to come in and do a palliative care podcast. And I thought that was better over there than here. Yeah, but we can come back and do a brain podcast with her here. No problem. Anyway, she had interviewed somebody about 4 weeks ago that was talking about this issue. Feelings fundamentally are things that come out of our body, that are motivational, and that are generated from our interior world. And when we understand them, because emotions are different than moods, right? There's feelings, emotions, and mood. And emotions are essentially things that are expressed.
Yes. And that's what he said. He said, and this was just so enlightening. He
Ginger
said, a feeling is, he said, I feel hungry. I feel pain.
They're often drives. They're often drives and feelings, or associated with drives and motivational states.
And don't you think in today's society, people confuse feelings with emotions?
People Bibi, they're all over the place. I can't believe how messed up everything is. I never thought I'd live in this world. I thought we were I remember the 90s when it was the decade of the brain, and we were going to help people understand all this stuff. And I was deep in a psychiatric hospital at that point, working in addiction medicine. And we've run amok. And we've become hysterical, and we're worried about monkeypox, and we should be thinking about how our minds work and how to make them healthier. I do think I've said this earlier. I don't know if you were listening, but I think Amber Heard did us a solid. Unfortunately, that poor woman, her pathology was on display, and I think it was important for people to see that, and his too, for that matter, in terms of what addiction does to people.
What about him?
Yeah, listen, I'm not saying. Listen, I told you both of them. Woof. Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah.
There's bigger problems in the world than people say mean things.
But they, you know, people think that, oh, they're celebrities. They don't have problems. No, the same stuff everybody else has. And people learn. They learn from that. That's why we did Celebrity Rehab, because people learn from the hook of celebrity. And these two did us a service. I'm telling you, we'll look back and think, oh yeah, people learned something from those guys. But I want to assign you something, BB.
Well, I hope they both get help. Yes. You know,
well, look, Johnny's been,
yeah, never mind.
Yeah. He's been trying, let's put it that way. And he looked pretty good on the stand. So,
yeah.
But I want you to go read Descartes' Error by Antonio Damasio. That is his, that is sort of his, opus magnus, whatever they call opus magnum. It's not that long, but it's his organizing thoughts. It made him famous. He had another one that followed called The Feeling of What Happens, which is sort of the follow-on to that. And his latest one is Feeling and Knowing. I've not read. It's more about consciousness. But the two, I think Descartes' Error is the big one. If you can read that, I think you'll like it. I think you'll find it very interesting.
I will do it. And just one last thing. You mentioned in one of your Dr. Drew and Adam podcast, it was kind of a theme in November and December. You were, I don't want to say my layman's term is, you were despairing, you were kind of aging, you were worrying about your place. But I want to tell you, we need you more than ever.
Well,
I kept talking into my podcast, Dr. Drew, we need you.
That is very kind of you. And I want you to know this adventure I'm about to leave for on Monday figures large into me addressing that phenomenon. I'm going to stress myself out in ways. Well, Susan said, I know my wife very well. The reason she said, she's thinking to herself, oh, he's not going to last long at this thing. And he's going to feel worse. No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
You have had us on tenterhooks. I've been listening. Yeah. I'm curious. I will be excited
this
when you
business
come back.
you're talking about that
we probably can't tell you for 6 months, so don't get excited.
Yeah, maybe if I can talk about it.
Well, that's all right. I just I'll continue to listen. But thank you very much.
But thank you for bringing that up, because I forgot. I know I'd been sort of lingering in that weird feeling for a while, and I'd forgotten it was back in the fall when it was really bugging me. And
you're needed.
But I'm telling you, what I'm about to do is
don't give away anything.
I know, but I'm thinking what word I would use. It's an extraordinary attempt to what am I really doing? It's a very big attempt to make that a less weighty phenomenon for me, I would say. Make it bother me less.
I will look forward to it, and thank you for taking my question.
You got to be great question.
I do appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Scary shit.
All right. What I'm going to do? Yes, it is. But you can see how even if I just doing
You're so excited. You're so much better. 2 weeks ago, you were whining about diverticulitis, and I had to take care of you all day. So trust me, I'm happy.
And that was that, oh, God, the physical problem.
I'm so glad you feel better and you're ready.
Yeah, yeah. I
just hope you make it through the next couple of weeks in one piece. So.
I'm as ready as I can be.
That's good.
Here.
I think you are. You look better. You seem happier.
And it's going to be, and past that, it's just going to be what it's going to be. And so, Zircons, keep going with the super chats here. Favorite episode of Legit was Susan's episode. Thank you for that. We did Jim Jeffries Legit, and Susan and I were in a movie theater when Jim called in the scene from the show, and it was very funny. It was very funny. Susan's a very good actress.
Oh yes, thank you, honey.
Yeah, just the puss you made during that scene. All right, let's wrap this.
Jim laughed.
He did. It
was funny.
It was funny. Let's wrap this thing up. We thank you guys on Club. Yeah, we should touch base with Jim. So Jerry had diverticulosis too. So yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, it sucks. But right now you seem good.
Yeah, right now I am. So thank you all for being here on the Restream. Thank you all on Clubhouse for joining us. Thank you that are watching.
Okay.
I might have the clip.
From Legit?
Yeah, from whenever I made your reel. Hold on, let me see.
YouTube won't cancel us for that or anything?
Not for the 5 seconds. All right, let's see.
You have the one of two of us in the theater.
I think so. Let's see if this works.
It's Dr. Drew. Who's this?
It's Jim Jeffries.
I want you to commit to this process, stay open, honest, and see where it takes you.
No, you're right. I was watching Dr. Phil the other day. He said a very similar thing.
You get your advice from Dr. Phil? Why don't you just get your advice from Rachel Ray, Jim, and be done with it?
What? So that was so much fun working with Jim. And that's how we got to know Ginger Gonzaga, was through...
Yeah.
Was it that episode?
And Jim and
yeah, well, we knew Jim already, but Ginger Gonzaga became a dear friend after that. You've seen her on here before. So thank you, Caleb. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, everybody out there on Twitch and Rumble and Restream and wherever we are.
See you on. I'll be over on Instagram and Twitter and hanging out by myself.
Woodstock. I will look up
at First
Gert
Lady of Love.
Vanden Bosch. I will see who that is. I don't know who that is. I got to be honest with you. And I will be back around the 12th of June. Hopefully,
maybe a little sooner. We're not sure yet.
Yeah, Susan's sure it's going to be sooner. I
mean, I hope. I mean,
I don't really care. To tell you the truth.
I don't know. I don't know how this all works, so I can't.
Well, I don't really either. I don't think anybody really does, frankly.
Just come back alive. That's all I ask.
That's what I will. Don't you worry about that. All right, everybody. Thank you, Caleb. Thank you all. Thank you for stopping by on a Saturday, and we will see you in the second or third week of June, June 12th, about when I'll be back. See you then.
Ta-ta.
Ta-ta. When you do those shout-outs, you're kind of pissed. You're kind of reticent.
Well, right.
Because you're being required to do it, and so it's under protest. I feel like it's all under protest, and it comes off as, I'll be honest, that you're sort of cold and disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't experience you that way at all right now.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
And so
I'm not an ice cold piece of shit. I mean,
and so when you
people in here,
I'm just looking at you, Annie.
And so when you do those shout outs, you're Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful